What's up, guys, and welcome to the season finale of the Bubba Speed Career Mode in MotoGP 20. We are on our way to Valencia to hopefully get another historic win for Bubba Speed, starting from last position. Obviously, if you haven't seen my last couple of videos, I've been doing a little challenge here because Bubba's already won the title, as you can see, 360 points over 251. Unless Schroeder has some kind of new rule where you can gain 150 points or 110 points in the span of one race, and there's no way in hell anything other than Bubba Speed being the champion is the case. So we're doing a little challenge here where no qualifying is done. Bubba starts from last position, and you can see how far ahead, how far up he can get in the final standings, obviously. So it's like, you know, it's not easy. It is definitely not easy because the hardest part is actually getting past a bunch of people. Saw in Phillip Island where, despite crashing, was able to get to, I think, what, 4th or 5th or something like that. Maybe it was actually higher. Can't quite remember. But was still able to get pretty high up. 1 in Sepang. So we'll see if Bubba can make it 2 out of 3 wins starting from the very back. See if we can actually do something there. And not the best start. Definitely would have liked to be around 15th by now, but it is what it is. And obviously going into Valencia, there's at this point there's no pressure, but there's usually a lot of pressure when you go to Valencia. Most of the time, people are either in the middle of a huge battle for a championship, or there's a lot of people around them that are definitely at least competitive for it. So there's usually a lot going into this race. This time there's absolutely zero pressure, I guess you could say, as we almost get crashed out there. So it's actually a nice little experience, not having to constantly be worried about the standings and not having to constantly be worried about whether or not your opponent's above you or behind you, etc., etc. So it's fun, especially on a track like Valencia, which is actually one of my favorites. I do believe that it's one of the nicest flowing tracks on the calendar. It's not the it's not the easiest to go around in terms of passing. Like, when I'm starting from the back, I think tracks like Sepang and tracks like Phillip Island, they're maybe a bit better, especially Sepang, though, because Sepang is so long. Like, obviously you do one less lap, but it's just so long to where, and it's so wide, and so much of it is about, you know, it's very much a point and shoot track, Sepang. I feel like, at least in my opinion, I feel like that's probably something that favors our bike and starting from last position a little bit more, because Valencia is very much turn, you know what I mean? It's a lot more of a technical track, and it leaves a lot less room for exploiting a superior bike. So that's gonna be something to take into consideration here, as we have 5 laps to go essentially, and we're still in 13th position. Realistically, we're battling for 13th. We're, you know, not able to consistently maintain this position. Hopefully we can start pushing forward, because once we get to the top 10, then we know we're in business, at least to try to get a podium, because those guys are pretty far up right now. As you can see, they're already going through the next corner. So we have a bit of work to do here, but I believe we can do something. Almost get a penalty there, which would have been just typical of Bubba. There's no, you know, at this point, it's pretty much happens every single race. Luca Marini doing a pretty good job in not doing anything in the 11th position. I guess at this point he's too far behind to get second too, so he probably doesn't really care too much. Really not too much to race for here. Looks like he's battling with Lowe's. So I don't know. Like, a lot of our rivals this season have been a little bit disappointing. What I mean by that is, obviously it goes in our favor, the fact that they just haven't quite been consistent. But, you know, they simply have not been consistent enough to really give us a run for our money for the entire season. You know, we've had plenty of races where we weren't that good, or like that result in Silverstone. But I don't think Schroeder finished. I think he finished like 7th or something like that, 5th or 7th or something. So he lost a lot of points there. We've had a very good season ourselves, but we also have to thank the fact that a lot of our rivals have just kind of been inconsistent and haven't really been able to maintain, you know, getting constant podiums. So, and I guess that's kind of how Moto2 goes, if you think about it, because Moto2 is such a competitive class. Like, I think it's obviously MotoGP is one thing this year. It's not usually like this. Usually Marc Marquez is, you know, so much farther above everybody else, just in terms of his abilities and in terms of just what he can do on that Honda, despite the Honda not being the easiest bike to ride. He's just so good on it. And it's like Moto2 pretty much every single season is a war, and that just kind of makes things more interesting. Obviously, when you have a guy like Bubba who wins so many races, it ends up being pretty difficult for everybody else to keep up with them, because they're always in the middle of battles, just not really able to get too much of an advantage over anybody else or everybody else at the top. So it ends up favoring whoever is the most dominant, and Bubba has definitely been the most dominant racer in Moto2 this season, as he heads up to Nagashima trying to take that 6th position. Goes really wide there, ends up losing 7th to Canet, and it's going down to 8th. Still right there though. I don't know if 1st is quite reachable at this point. I mean, just look how far ahead he is. But maybe a top 3. Maybe a top 3. That would be probably a fair result there, a nice little acceptable one. As it's actually Fernandez up front, in front of Baldassarri, and then Marcel Schroeder and Thomas Luthi. So yeah, Schroeder once again is unable to really do too much in terms of winning the championship, or at least winning a race. He's probably been the biggest disappointment. Obviously, we've talked about Thomas Luthi in the past, where we've crashed him out too many times, where he was actually able to be competitive. But Marcel Schroeder, I think, being on that bike, he probably should have done a lot better. And in general, he's been a little bit disappointing as a rival all season long. He just hasn't really given us a huge run for our money in most races. So that's a little bit disappointing. Plus, he crashed out in the race that ended up being the decisive one in Motegi for us to win the championship. So obviously, it hasn't been the easiest of times for him either. But it is what it is as we head into probably my favorite part of Valencia. That little lefty right there, followed by this looping left-hander. And as you can see, man, like we're running. I can't remember if we're running hards or mediums, but our tires are already relatively fucked. And there we go. We crashed out. We crashed out in my favorite part of the track, obviously. So there goes 1st position. That's just not going to happen. We're able to actually get on track without crashing out, which is definitely a plus. At this point, it's just, can we actually get somewhere, or will we just end up getting like 1 point or something like that, which would be kind of annoying. But I guess at this point, the important thing is that we beat Joe Roberts, because my brother's a huge fan of Joe Roberts, or at least allegedly is. And I want to beat him every single time. See what happens here, as Jinglin Joe is in a battle once again for like a point. Hats off to Jinglin Joe. But we do know that Bubba is fast as hell here. Though we've seen that in the past. Like, I guess it's kind of hard to judge on Moto2, because we haven't done any practice. I haven't done anything, so it's like, just get on the bike and just go. But I guess we've had so much experience on this bike at this point that way, where we don't really need to practice to know what we're gonna do on each specific track, especially a track like this where I've done so many laps on here. Definitely was really tight there. Pause. Should have gone a lot wider. As we come out of the turn, not great. Have to slow down big time to avoid hitting the grass and crashing out again. Coming out of this one, if we can get a nice drive, we should be on Gardner, but our rear tire is just almost completely shot. I mean, it is really hard to go left at this point in time. Going right, we still have a bit of tire left, but as you can just see, every time we go left, it is really hard to maintain any kind of grip. So it's not looking good for it now for getting even a point. I mean, every time we get close to Gardner, we end up making some kind of mistake, like right there, and it's not easy right now. And I do have to say, man, like, I love the fact that it is a lot more realistic in terms of tire wear. Because one thing I've always kind of noticed is, like, the tires back in the previous games, I don't know about 19, I didn't play it enough to really pay too much attention to that, but I just feel like in previous games, your tire wouldn't degrade depending on the track. Okay, what I mean by that is, obviously, as you can tell, like, especially in real life, that you can see it very prominently. It's like on a track like Sachsenring, which is predominantly left-handers, the left side of your tire really gets shot a lot faster than the right side, and that's an important factor in a simulation game. I really think that's a huge factor there as we hit the dirt like an idiot. Like the fact that the left side of our tire is completely shot, whereas our right side of our tires are still fine. That shows that they really did put a lot more emphasis on getting the tire wear correct, and I think that's a very commendable thing from them. I do really appreciate that a lot. So that's a good thing right there. And obviously it's to our detriment at this point in time, as we have we're trying to get to 15th, but we also have a 0.7 second penalty, so we're not going to get anything. Run wide, hit the gravel. Well, at this point, we'd be lucky if we finish in the top 20. Like, that's just the reality of things. Just having a really, really shit performance. Was looking pretty good early on, but just completely blowing it from then on. It looks like Joe Roberts may actually beat us because we got another penalty. Now up to a second. This has been a complete another shit show, and we run out of fuel. Oh my god, man, that has never happened to me in this game. Actually, no. It happened to me in my first race because I wasn't paying attention, and Power 2 was on default, and I had to restart because I didn't know, or no, it was qualifying, my first qualifying session, and I had no idea what the hell was going on, and I was like, okay, fine, out of fuel. We're going to go ahead and back up, just get off the track, just to make sure we're not going to murder anybody, but that is it, guys. Season over. We finish last, or we don't finish, that's the point. We got a DNF. The winner is Augusto Fernandez in front of Lorenzo Baldassarri, Marcel Schroeder, and Thomas Luthi. The championship standings are Bubba Speed with 360, almost 100 points over Marcel Schroeder, followed by Baldassarri, Luthi, Luca Marini, Augusto Fernandez, Della Porta, Bastianini, and Bezzecchi. Obviously, we won the championship for the team standings, and that's just it's an anticlimactic end to what was actually a phenomenal season overall. I mean, Bubba won so many races. Bubba was very consistent, and Bubba just had some great performances all over the world this season. Disappointed with Silverstone because we were looking really good there, but overall can't really complain too much. Got the championship. We got it with 3 races in advance. And, yeah, we're going up the MotoGP, guys, up on the KTM. It's going to be a tough first season, I believe. I have to get used to the bike. I have to get used to a lot of different things in terms of the physics of the game once you move up to the top class. And it's going to be difficult. But if there's anybody who can do it, it is our man, Bubba Speed, the legend that is Bubba Speed. Continuing to show year in, year out why this guy deserves to be praised as one of the most promising racers in the world. Arguably a potential GOAT, depending on how many seasons we do, obviously. In order to do that, we have to beat Valentino Rossi and Marc Marquez's, because I believe that Marc Marquez will eventually have the record. We're going to have to beat them. So it's not going to be easy, but maybe we can do it. Most importantly, maybe we'll do that many seasons. I don't know, eventually you'll probably get bored of it, if not already bored, considering every time I do these damn things, I just woke up and I'm exhausted and I'm saying a bunch of random bullshit, but hopefully you'll enjoy it as Bubba sees his trophy. He realizes, man, like, this guy he's finally where he wants to be, MotoGP. And guys, thank you so much for watching this entire season. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and let me know in the comment section down below what you thought of this entire season, what you thought of Bubba Speed winning the championship, and what do you think that Bubba can actually do in MotoGP with that KTM alongside Binder and alongside Espargaro. It's going to be tough, but I believe it's going to be really, really fun, guys. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.